Hey guys, let's get more news about Dallas, but first, don't forget to subscribe and leave your like. Cowboys, Chargers may steal Titans trade candidate. The Cowboys or Chargers may steal the Titans trade candidate wide receiver, DeAndre Hopkins, this season. It's becoming more imminent every week that Tennessee will unload plenty of talent, including Hopkins, after suffering another loss. The offense isn't getting any better with Will Levis as the team's quarterback, but they're not planning to bench him, despite being 1-4. The 32-year-old is in the final stage of his prime, but he could become one of the most premier receivers in the league again this year with the right roster. Just Jets host Matt O'Leary reacts to Jeff Ulbrich's promotion to interim head coach. He's the type of piece to bolster any offense that has a strong chance in postseason contention after hauling in 14 receptions for 175 yards and 1 touchdown. However, sources continue to link him to potential new suitors like the Packers and Lions, who have a legitimate roster to make a deep playoff push. They both have superstar-caliber talent, but it would make sense for Tennessee to explore their options first for their own sake of a good deal. Hopkins is getting on the older side, but things may line up perfectly since they'll probably push to trade for him just for a postseason push and let him hit the 2025 free agent market. However, teams like the Cowboys and Chargers, who have one of the worst offensive receivers in the league, should look to bolster their roster with someone like Hopkins. The Cowboys probably have one of the worst offenses in recent memory, despite extending CeeDee Lamb this season. Dallas' offense is becoming too predictable for explosive defenses like the Lions, who anticipate Dak Prescott's favorite targets. This is why Detroit came into Dallas' home and obliterated them, since they couldn't get any momentum in the passing game. Jalen Tolbert is still learning as a full-time role, so it doesn't make much sense he's getting most of the touches. However, Dallas doesn't have a choice since losing Brandon Cooks to injury. Jerry Jones continues to put this team behind and probably won't improve this roster, but a Hopkins trade may be what they need to help Lamb. Otherwise, the Cowboys should anticipate Lamb to receive double coverage. Hopkins is no stranger to new teams, so he could adjust to the team fairly quickly to accommodate Lamb to create some separation in the passing game. It was an ugly win for the Chargers after losing Ladd McConkey, Quentin Johnston, and head coach Jim Harbaugh in one singular game. Luckily, Johnston and Harbaugh came back, but one has to wonder if the team will continue to improve the passing game for Justin Herbert. He can't thrive if he doesn't have a consistent receiver other than McConkey, but a Hopkins trade should be a fine consolation prize. The passing attack is already bad enough that Herbert depended on running back Kamani Vidal for a touchdown pass. Herbert doesn't have anyone who has playoff experience, and Hopkins could easily become their new number 1 receiver. He may not be the same player anymore, but it's better than what Harbaugh provided in replacements for Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. In 2023, the Chiefs wanted Hopkins, but now they could finally get their wish this year. Kansas City came into this offseason with Marquise Brown, Rashee Rice, and rookie Xavier Worthy as their lineup. However, after losing both Brown and Rice, they're relying on Worthy and a couple of reserve players like Juju Smith-Schuster, Mecole Hardman, and Sky Moore. Patrick Mahomes hasn't been the same, but a Hopkins trade would be a no-brainer change in his production. Cowboys Insider offers bold update on Mike McCarthy's job security after Lions rout. Were the Dallas Cowboys aware that there was a football game on Sunday? It appears not, as they were dismantled by the Detroit Lions to the tune of a 47-9 final score. It's the worst home loss in the 15-year history of AT&T Stadium and one of the worst overall losses in franchise history. While the Cowboys are 3-3 going into the bye and are navigating a cavalcade of injuries, this season feels like it's destined to end in disappointment. Bigger picture notwithstanding, a loss of historic proportions generally would force a franchise's higher-ups to consider seismic changes. If it were up to Cowboys fans, head coach Mike McCarthy would have a bullseye on his back, but the proverbial ball is in Jerry Jones' court. Whereas many head coaches would be skating on thin ice after a 38-point home loss, McCarthy is seemingly standing on sturdy ground. Longtime Cowboys insider Jane Slater of NFL Network does not believe that Jones will fire McCarthy during the bye week. While a statement should be made, it's not like Jones to change coaches mid-season. It took until after the 2019 season for Jones to fire Jason Garrett, even though the Cowboys were going nowhere that season. They finished 8-8 and missed the playoffs. This season has a similar feel to it. Having said that, Jones isn't a total stranger to canning coaches mid-season. In 2010, he handed Wade Phillips his walking papers after Dallas was bludgeoned 45-7 by McCarthy's Green Bay Packers. That decision ironically marked the start of Garrett's tenure as head coach. Then an assistant head coach, Garrett was promoted to interim head coach before he was given the permanent title after the season. The problem with potentially letting go of McCarthy is that the Cowboys don't have an obvious successor. Defensive coordinator Mike Zimmer is on a one-year contract and nobody is pining for him to replace McCarthy after his just allowed 47 points, 7.5 yards per play and nearly 500 yards of offense. It is far more likely that McCarthy and Zimmer are gone after the season. Dallas Cowboys acquire star running back in massive trade proposal. The Dallas Cowboys have been off to a slow start this season to their usual standard. The team has a record of 3-3 and has not won a game at home in 2024, leaving many question marks surrounding them. One of their main issues is the lack of a rushing attack on offense, and Dallas is predicted to address that before the trade deadline. The Cowboys are predicted to sign Carolina Panthers running back Miles Sanders before the trade deadline. Sanders was a standout player back when he played with the Philadelphia Eagles his first 4 years in the NFL, and he could bring some much-needed help to Dallas. The star running back has amounted to 4,238 rushing yards and 22 touchdowns so far in his career and has rushed for over 1,000 yards in his best season. Sanders has not been a factor for the Panthers since joining the team, and he could be looking to move on to a team like the Cowboys, who has a win-now mentality. Dallas did not make any more additions this past offseason, even though owner Jerry Jones said the team was all in on getting to the Super Bowl this season. After missing out on signing key additions like Derrick Henry and Joe Mixon, signing Sanders could give the offense a much-needed boost in the run game. And you, fan? What do you think of the situation of Miles Sanders? Leave your opinion in the comments.